We're going to have a short panel discussion, then we're going to open up we have 2 mics here. We'll ask people to come up for questions. I'd ask the panel, right now we see incredible turmoil in Syria and Egypt, and we see the Muslim Brotherhood taking over in Egypt, and it looks bad in Libya. So where is this moderate Islam?
There's a powerful countercurrent against the Muslim Brotherhood rule in Egypt. You're watching it. Port Said, a city of over 1 million, is open rebellion. The streets of major cities are seeing constant demonstrations. Muslim Brotherhood buildings are being burnt to the ground. You're watching it.
As we watch this, for all those of us here who read from a variety of online sources and books, you get lots of authors who tell us what's in the Quran, who tell us what the Quran says. People, Pamela Geller, Robert Spencer, are those people right about Islam?
Well, the Quran does not read itself. The Quran is simply a text. It is read by people. And so with what lenses the Quran is read, meaning is then taken out or derived. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, there is a massive, huge struggle taking place in the heart of the Muslim world. And this is not something new, and it's not something that began on 9/11. In fact, in modern history, it begins in the early years of the 20th century. When the Ottoman Empire was defeated and Mustafa Kemal took power, one of the things that he did, Mustafa Kemal was a military officer in the Ottoman Empire. He was a soldier. He was not a scholar in that sense. And he emerged from the ruins of the Ottoman Empire as its victorious warrior to make modern Turkey. And one of the things he did was he abolished the Caliphate, which was the over 1,300-year institution. But the most interesting response to the abolishment of the Caliphate came from the heart of the Sunni Islam institution, the Al-Azhar University. It was a mufti, that is a judge, a scholar of Islam in Al-Azhar, a man by the name of Ali Abdul Razik, wrote a treatise called Al-Hukm al-Islam, that is the authority or fundamentals in Islam. And he pointed out that there is no basis in Islam for a Khalifa. In fact, Islam does not offer any basis for any particular political order. That is something for Muslims to work upon themselves. Well, what happened was Ali Abdul Razik lost his position. Luckily, he was not beheaded because the British still ruled or had a presence in Egypt, but that ended his career. The point here is that that debate is not over. That debate that began in 1920 is being fought out right now in the heart of the Muslim world. And it is not the Pamela Gellers and the Bob Spencers and whoever else you have in your list of names who are basically, I would call gnats roaming around this elephant, who have anything to say. This is, as Dr. Pipe himself says, is a huge struggle inside the Muslim world of how they're going to define their future.
There's an Egyptian philosopher by the name of Hassan al-Hanafi who said a few years ago that the Quran is like a supermarket. You can take from it what you want.
Okay, we'll take a question from the floor.
I'm happy to hear about Islam from you, but I like to say something. You talk about Islam or Muslims as some people who respect the law. Muslims people all over the world don't respect any law. When they are weak, they can follow the law. If they are in power, they will damage all laws or every sees something like this. And we, in Egypt, we saw what the Muslim Brothers did after they be empowered. This is the Islam. When they came to Egypt, 13 or 1400 years, they came to Egypt, and after that they were friendly, they were good people, and after that they damaged everything.
Okay, is there a question?
Killed the people.
Please ask your question.
I like to say, don't expect from Muslim people to be respect the law. If they have a power or they have a
Okay,
majority,
thank you very much. Does somebody else have, do you have a question?
Yes,
Keep your comments very short, please.
this is a question to my friend Salim. If we look back at very recent history in the 20th century, it could be said as a fact that the majority of Germans were not Nazis, yet Nazis control the fate of the world. Salim, we know that the majority of Muslims are not Islamists, but do you not feel that the Islamists are now in control of international Islam?
I'm not quite sure what would you define as international Islam. But there was the global
Islamism, sorry, international, the movement of international Islamism and the spread of jihad.
Well, I mean, whether they are in control or, in a sense that they have a monolithic power, as the Bolsheviks ended up having in Soviet Union or Mao Zedong in China, is still an open question, and it will take a long time to get into the discussion. The point is to observe the struggle that is going on right now, and it's a deep struggle. The Islamists, I mean, the best studies point out that as an organized movement, they represent somewhere between 10 and 15, maybe 20%. Those are huge numbers. They are in tens of millions in a global Muslim population of 1.7 billion people. But you must remember that there are 80% on the other side who do not fully accept. And that struggle is taking place. It's taking place in particular societies which you have to focus in. But as Dr. Pipe has pointed out, and I'll give it over to him, yes, the Western world is fixated with discussing with the Islamists. They are organized, they're among us, they have the money, they have the support, they have governments behind them. Some of the very important, powerful states in the Muslim world are being ruled by people that are, in that sense, allies or leading towards Islamism. And so we have a huge problem, and there's no question about, saying that the problem doesn't exist. It is a huge problem that exists.
Okay, next question over here.
I have a small comment. I'll try to be very short. I was born and raised in the Middle East, and I have a lot of Muslim friends, and I think we have to make a distinction between what's a good Muslim or moderate Muslim and a radical. We call him radicalist Muslims. Radical Muslims are not the bad people. They are the true Muslims because they follow the verses of the Quran. There is 20 verses in the Quran that says kill the unbelievers, kill the unbelievers. So the people who are doing terrorism, they are not bad Muslims. They are the real Muslims who follow the Quran teachings and the Hadith and the Sunnah Muhammad, which is the life of the Prophet Muhammad. And the good Muslims are good because they don't follow the Quran. Once they follow the Quran and start reading what's in the Quran, and the 20 verses that I have seen here that says killing the unbeliever, I don't know what you are going to do with those verses. Can you abrogate them, or what can you do?
Okay.
Yes, you can abrogate them. The Quran is filled with contradictions. I mentioned to you before, there's no compulsion in religion. There's also, O Prophet, struggle against the unbelievers and hypocrites and be harsh with them. Those are irreconcilable, and yet the Muslim scholars have decided on the one and not the other. Muslim scholars today can decide on the other and not the one. This is open. as Dr. Mansour pointed out, the Quran is read by people. People can read the Quran as they wish. As Hassan al-Hanafi said, you take what you want from it. It is a flexible document. It can be read in many different ways. And I actually studied the Quran for half a year in Arabic in Cairo. And I was deeply impressed with the complexity. In half a year, we got 2-3 pages done. Because it is very, very complex book. And translations truly do not do it justice because there's so many subtleties within it. It offers enormous scope for alternative readings.
Next question.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Pike. Sir, how much influence, if any, will possibly infiltration does the Muslim Brotherhood have in the White House administration, and in particular the State Department, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and so on?
There certainly is a problem in the United States, as in other Western countries, of Islamist infiltration. It happens, actually, a blog on this, Islamist penetration of Western security services, airport personnel in Australia, and nuclear operations and energy operations in the United States, and just plain old police forces and so forth. Yes, that's widespread. And one can find it at higher levels. You mentioned the White House. One can find individuals there who are Islamist. Ali Mugahed, for example, is an advisor. Rashid Hussein is the ambassador to the Islamic Organization Cooperation, IOC. But in the end, I think they are less important than the non-Muslims who are their who are accessories to their viewpoint. I watched the press conference, or parts of the press conference with Minister Kenny today announcing the expulsion of Muhammad. And he was peppered with questions about how Muhammad's health will do in Lebanon, how his family will miss him. Question after question, antagonistic. None of the reporters, at least none of the ones I saw, had any sympathy for this. And it's that. It essentially, it's the press, it's the academy,